Greetings, students. I'm Dr. Sadi, your instructor for this course. I'm making this lecture video because I received a few email questions from the student about the structure of the Module 12. I'm going to show you, obviously, our module, so you can see exactly where everything is. I've already put 2 videos over there for part 1 of Module 12 and part 2 of Module 12. But it seemed like there were some students that somehow maybe so much information they got lost in there. So here we go. I wanted to show you here. So our module 12 is right there. That has a topic of future of the Middle East and the final exam. And then in part 1 of it, we have some extra credit, opportunities, obviously. The extra credit opportunities, as some of your former peers had asked for. I used to have actually a paper, and then they said, Dr. Sadi, toward the end of the semester, would you please make it something simple like a quiz? So I switched the paper to a quiz. All right, so the extra credit is over some, optional readings, and then I'm going to describe it even more. So that was part 1, which I made one particular video for it. Then part 2 involves basically the final exam itself, and then right after final exam to do the what? Post test, okay? So as you can see right here, I'm bringing it higher so you can see it better. It says the assignment for the Module 12 starts the Sunday before. By Sunday before, if you're too shy to either criticize me or class or UCF or anything else, you're more than welcome to use the what? Totally anonymous survey. And you can put all your complaints right there, okay? Not a problem. That's absolutely fine, okay? But what we have noticed from, exam 1 and exam 2 is, it seems like most of the students, they prefer and they feel comfortable to email me their question, or they stop by my office, or, they leave messages at the department, and then I go get the message and then answer them. So I'm actually happy about that, because that means that you feel comfortable to ask me any question. This is great. This is, I can't ask for anything better. Let me put it that way, okay? So thank you so much for doing that, because it makes me feel so good that you feel comfortable to ask me those questions directly, as opposed to be shy and we have to wait for one of these anonymous, surveys to open up to put your question over there. I think that's a much better way of doing it anyway. So as soon as, if you do not need to use it, remember, these surveys, weekly surveys, are completely anonymous and completely optional. You don't have to do it. Don't waste your time. You don't have any, question or criticism of the course. Then, here we go. For example, for this particular semester, as you can see, extra credit. For extra credit, all I did was put 3 articles. That's it, Here we go. 3 articles, and out of these 3 articles, we're going to have 5 questions, okay, for the extra credit quiz. And as you notice, this year I send a message that they're going to have more values or something. This is not what happens every single semester, simply because this semester we have had 2 back-to-back hurricanes, as you know. And then in addition to that, we have had some, very interesting circumstances happening in terms of some of the students, families that were affected. And, I want to make sure that all of our students, they have equal opportunity. So that's why for this particular semester, the semester fall 24, this particular course, Middle East Politics, I increased the extra credit from 5 points to 10 points. So basically every question is going to have two points, as opposed to 1. So to help you, okay? So these are the optional reading. From these optional readings, you have 2 choices. One choice is to do, if you do not have 6 perfect posting scores, is that right? Which, 5 out of 5, okay, as I mentioned already in one of the videos. Then you might want to do that. Hopefully by now you know how to do them and how to secure a perfect score. That's one. And then from the same reading, then we have the extra credit quiz. That's all. Now, notice that also the videos that I'm describing these, they describe the part 1, and I've described part 2. They're there. Now, going any further, what happens? Here we go. Then we get to the main issue right here. Is that right? And the main issue right here is the final exam. Okay. Now, even though we have had 2 exams so far, exam 1 and exam 2, and I did reviews for both, and then I have actually, had Zoom sessions with some students, phone calls with others. Some people, they came to actually see me. I have tried to train everybody. Guys, this structure is the same. So final exam, basically is like an exam 3, covers only the last third of the semester from module 9 on, okay? Module 9, 10, and 11, all right? It doesn't actually include what? Extra credit assignments either. So only those 3. And then this format that you see right here, first of all, we have what? We have the final exam instruction. I really want you to open it up and then see what the instructions are. So on the day of final exam, you do not waste your valuable time for that, okay? Then the next thing is it says sample outline and essay format. Okay, open it up, see how the samples are. Now, many times when I'm writing you comments on your essays or something, I actually put notes like how you should have changed it, how you could have got full point for it, etc., etc. But these examples have been there. Module 4, which was exam 1, had samples. Module 8, which was for exam 2, had some samples. And here we go. Module 12 for final exam has the same thing. Okay? So, for example, let's go on the exam instructions. Here we go. It tells you exactly what the exam is all about. 3 parts. We want to make sure that every type of student with different type of abilities, some who are very good with what? Objective questions or multiple choice. Some are very, very good with open-ended question or essays. They have equal opportunities. So we have saved 7 points for multiple choice, 7 points for what? For essays, okay? And then in between, as a compromise, is 6 points for what? Short answers. So that's one thing. In part 1, you have to answer obviously all of the question. In part 2, you just answer 2, not more, not less, short answers out of 5. And in part 3, there are 3 essay questions. People ask me, what are the essay questions? Which module should I study? Well, study all 3 modules because there's going to be 1 question from every single module. That's all right? So now, here also we have a sample. I actually included a sample outline with very, very generic words. This is what we usually expect, except the areas that it says generic. It's a very simple thing. Some of the people, they wrote in exam 1 and exam 2, my God, such long outlines, okay? Don't waste your time, okay? Just put something basic. Now, having said that one, what I wanted to do is I want to actually close this one and go into, if it would let me see if it lets me or not, okay? Okay, we are back on that, okay? So, okay, here we go, back again. Back right there. Okay. I also have for you what? Not just the instruction. Here, look at this one. Okay. I'm hoping that it opens it up quickly. It's not opening it up. Why is that? Cancel right there. Would you just open up this way? Oh, it wants to open it up in a different way. Fine, not a problem. Okay. Here we go. This is basically 5-point scale, outline with a lot of description. So don't worry about all those writing on the one side, is that right? But again, it has that same format of 5 Roman numerals, 5-point scale, introduction, body, conclusion, and the body is divided into the 3 questions that every political scientist has to answer: the what question, the why question, and the how question, okay? And then the essay. And then for essay, as you can see, 5 separate paragraphs. Each one of the paragraphs corresponds to one of those points. That's all. That's all you have to do. So introduction, conclusion, I'm sure you know what to say. Is that right? It's basically introduction. You talk about significance of the topic. You talk about the definition of the main, notion that the, question is asking about. Conclusion, you basically kind of, summarize the main points and maybe talk a little bit about the future. Is that right? So that's about it. Then, in between, you need to identify for Roman numeral 2, is that a concept? Is that a theory? Is that a policy? Or is that a method? If, for example, it talks about power, it's a concept. If it says, for example, realism, anything with ism, is a theory. If it talks about, for example, scientific method, it's obviously about methods. Is that right? And if it says, for example, let's say, foreign aid or tariff policy, well, obviously it's a policy. So let's make sure that your outline matches the topic of the question. So use the question against itself. Read the question very carefully and you can identify it there. Then in terms of Roman number 3, it's analysis or discussion or comparison. It's always the same, pretty much. Okay? And in this one, the safest thing is to do comparison. And then in comparison, you usually look at similarities between two different phenomena or two different policies or two different theories and the differences between those. Then next one is about the answering question how. How is that related or how we can predict it? Well, you use one of the articles from that same module, where your question came from. And then in addition to that one, you would just say, how is this article relevant or not relevant? It could not be, you could use the article and say, look, the article says this, 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 but I chose this, 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 and they're not related. That still is a what? An analysis. It shows that you know how to connect the real world with the what? With the academic world, okay? Okay, and then last but not least, you're using some examples. I assume you remember some examples used in that article. You show that how it's related, how it's not related. That's about it. This is all you have to do, all right? So after we have finished this one, let me see if it lets me to go on, okay? Come on, please cooperate. Okay, back on that one. Again, puts me all the way back to what? Puts me all the way back to the beginning. Fine, not a problem. All right. See, technology can be sometimes very challenging, can it? Okay. So here we go. Here have actually put an example of a what? An example of an essay question. You see that? This is an example of an essay question. Let me see if I can make it larger so you can see. Here we go. Not this way. Do you see that? Okay. So, for example, this essay question. So if you wanted to know how these questions are structured, this is the same but structure that we use for every question from every module. Now, again, it starts with a what? It starts with an outline, and then what? Then the essay. Roman number 1, Roman number 2, Roman number 3. At least 100 what? Words for everyone. Now, very honestly, usually conclusion and introduction, okay, they end up not being so long, but usually the other parts, the 3 questions in between, they usually end up being pretty long, okay? So that's all you have to do. It's very simple, all right? Right after you finish with final, then you go and click on what? There is actually, you have seen probably there is something called post-test. Is that right? Okay, if I can get it to go back. It's not cooperating. Okay, how about this one, previous? Okay, so here we go. Oh, now it went back to what? Okay. So as you can see, each one of them, they actually have, where is the post-test? This is not the right one, is it? Oh, this goes to exam 1. No wonder. Okay. No, here we go. Course. Okay, no, it started showing their books and everything else. No, this is not what I wanted. Close upon up to, go right here. Okay, here we go. Modules. Does it show? Okay, 24. No, this is not what I wanted. Here we go, back right there. Okay. Okay, here module 12. Okay. Here we go. Post-test. You see that? So as soon as you're finished with final, then do your post-test. That's it. Post-test, you don't have to study for post-test. Post-test basically is going to have the same question as pre-test that you took in module 1. All it's trying to do is that you see if they wanted to know that, hey, how much you learned from this course. So I'm hoping that you get a score higher than what you got on the first one. That's it. That's all you have to do. It's very simple. So don't forget to do it, because if you don't do it, then you would be considered disengaged, and then we have to penalize your final grade. That's all you have to do, all right? I'm hoping that this extra video helps you a lot, okay? So if you still have any question, you know what to do. You always contact me, and I do appreciate that. I like to hear from my students. Good luck, guys.